I never thought it would ever happen to me. It was a great day to be outside working on my car, or so I thought. My shoulder had been bothering me that morning. I thought I'd just pulled a muscle or something. I figured I could just work through the pain. Luckily, I had asked my wife to bring me a glass of water, so when I collapsed, she was there to call 911. I don't remember much of what happened after I passed out, but when I came to, EMS was there and had me hooked up to a heart monitor and they were checking my vitals. I guess since I lived so far out into the country, they didn't think they could get me to the hospital fast enough. I remember hearing a guy say, "We need a chopper ASAP." What seemed like only a few minutes, a helicopter was landing in a nearby field. Once they landed, I was up in the air and on my way to the hospital in no time. When I was getting loaded into the helicopter, all I was thinking about was the past several days. I'd been having heartburn and acid reflux so bad that it was even up in my throat and jaw. I didn't realize then that those were the symptoms of a heart attack. My wife had been telling me I needed to go see my doctor, but I didn't want to make a big fuss over heartburn. Luckily, the team in the cath lab had been notified from the field that I was on the way, so everything was prepped and ready for me to arrive. Once we landed at Baptist Health Corbin, it was like a scene from my wife's favorite TV show. They pulled me out of the helicopter, got me on a stretcher, and through the ER we went. We didn't stop until we reached the doors to the cath lab. When they got me on the table and into the stylish hospital gown, the doctor and cath lab technicians got to work. It wasn't moments before I felt relief in my chest. Soon, I was headed to recovery. While I was in recovery, waiting on a room to become available, my wife was meeting with the doctor in the waiting room at the end of the hall to discuss my heart cath. He even showed her the x-rays of my blockages and how they had been successfully able to place a stent to reopen the artery. Soon after, I was moved to the progressive care unit on the second floor of the hospital. That afternoon, the nurses had me up and walking down the halls of the hospital to make sure all was good. I was discharged early the next day. A few weeks later, I was scheduled for my first day of cardiac rehab. There I learned how to adopt a heart-healthy lifestyle. One of the things I learned about was heart-healthy exercises in hopes to reduce the need for some of my medications to treat my heart problems. So for the next 12 weeks, I'll be here trying to improve my heart and learning how to live heart-healthy.
I didn't think it would ever happen to me.
I never thought this would happen to me.
I never really thought I would have any problems. I just thought it was kind of like an old wives' tale that it's not going to happen to me, but sure enough, here I am.
It'd been a normal day. Over the weekend, I'd had some, what I thought was indigestion, and it would pass. And then on Monday, I had went to work and thought everything was good. And on the drive home from Danville, Kentucky, started experiencing some little bit harder chest pains, and was getting kind of sick. Called my wife. Of course, the medical types, we don't like to be the patient, so I was saying, well, I'm just not feeling well, and I'm dehydrated, or I was making excuses. But I can say I'm probably part of I'm a prime example that the system works, because she talked me into, well, at least stopping by and visiting my friends at the ambulance service. When they checked me out, then they said, well, we need to go to the hospital. So that chain of survival started there for me. And they took me to the hospital. The hospital was great. The emergency room, through labs, they quickly recognized I was having a heart attack. And so the next thing I know, Dr. Filardo's there, and he says, we've got to go to the lab. So we went to the lab, and I had 2 stents, 100% block in one artery and 95% block in the other, plus a blood clot somewhere in there. Have recovered and have, going on a year anniversary, and everything's went well. So I really, EMS, emergency room team, the Dr. Filardo and his team in the cath lab, I'm sitting here talking because of them. They saved my life.
My story is kind of different. I didn't do the normal go to a doctor, go to a cardiologist referral stuff. I work in the emergency room. So having spent about a month of having pressure and tightness, I spoke with Dr. Filardo one day and asked him about it, and he suggested I come see him. And so I did, made an appointment and went and saw him. Once I was there, he suggested we do a stress test. The stress test was fairly good, but then he found out that there were some problems. So we went to the cath lab, and there we found several blockages, of which Dr. Filardo put in 3 stents, and everything seemed to be pretty good, and dramatically increased the breathing and feeling a lot better. And then that lasted for about 8 months, and I started having a lot of the same problems again. So I talked to Dr. Filardo once again, did another stress test, turned out all right. But afterwards we realized that there was some blockages, and we did another heart cath, and he found the problem. And then once we were in there, he realized that some of the problems I had was something a little more than what we could do here. So I wound up going to Lexington, to Baptist up there, and had everything fixed there.
I started having symptoms last January 2016. I started having chest pain, center of my chest, would radiate up into my jaws and my ears and down my left arm and in the center of my back. I started going to my family physician, and for a few months we thought I just had acid reflux. And in September of 2016, it started getting worse. As the month went, the pain got worse. And I went to the emergency room. They told me it was acid reflux and sent me back home. The next morning, September 29th, that morning I woke up, I was fine. I made my coffee, I'd done my morning rounds, sat down and was talking to my mother, and the pain hit me really hard in the center of my chest. So I stood up and I tried to walk it off, and it just kept getting worse, and it started radiating down my arms and in my back and up into my jaws and my ears. And so I walked into the kitchen to get a Tums, because all this time everybody was telling me I had acid reflux. So I put a Tums in my mouth and started to chew it, and I passed out. I woke up on the floor, and I was covered in sweat. My shirt was soaked in sweat. I couldn't stand up because every time I tried, the room would go black. So I crawled to my bedroom door and finally got up enough strength to stand up and open the door and go in my bedroom to wake my husband up to call 911. I started throwing up. Like I said, every time I tried to stand up, I would just black out. So my husband called 911. The ambulance came to get me. The EMT workers took me into the ambulance, and he said, I'm going to run this test. And he said, this test is going to tell me where I need to take you. So he ran the test, and he said, honey, he said, I don't want to scare you, but you're having a heart attack. And he said, I'm taking you to Corbin. So they brought me straight in to Corbin. I remember telling my husband it was like something you would see on TV, because they brought me through the doors, and I just seen these people lined up, and, to the open elevator. And they rolled me into the elevator, and all this time I'm thinking, well, I'm going to die. This pain is getting worse, and there's so many people here. This is bad. I'm going to die. And my little grandbaby had been born prematurely in August of last year. I had only got to see her once, and I was still waiting for her to come home so I could hold her. And I remember thinking, I'm never going to get to hold my little grandbaby. So they took me in to the cath lab, and they were prepping me, and I was begging for everybody, just please make the pain stop. Nothing made it stop. And I seen Dr. Filardo walk in. I had never seen him before, didn't know who he was, but for some reason I just knew that he was going to be the one to help me. So he sat down, and he started, working on me, and the pain started easing up. And I remember him asking me once, is the pain gone? And it was still there just a little bit, and I said, not completely. So in just 30 seconds, seems like the pain was gone. He said that I was 100% blocked in my right coronary artery, and that he had put 2 stents in. And I was in the hospital, I think, for 3 days after that. And I remember just sitting there day after day. I would cry sometimes when I was by myself. I just didn't understand what had happened to me, why it had happened to me. I thought all this time I had acid reflux, but I had a heart attack. And I was just trying to wrap my head around what had just happened. So they let me go home. I got to hold my little grandbaby. That day, we both got out of the hospital. And I thought, okay, now I'm home. Everything's fine. Everything's going to be okay. But it wasn't. A heart attack is a physical thing, but it's also a mental thing. You don't only have to heal physically, you have to heal mentally. So I'm still healing mentally. I think I'm almost healed 100% physically, but nowhere near mentally. I spent the next few months I guess, trying to find myself again. Nothing seemed like it belonged to me. I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere, really. I would walk into my closet and look around and try to find something to wear, and it was like I was in her closet. It was her things. I didn't have anything. And the biggest part of my heart attack happened in my bedroom. So every time I looked at my bed and I seen the comforter set on my bed and the things around my bed, it would remind me of that morning. So I had to go and buy all new bedding for my bed. I had to change the way everything looked in my bedroom and my bathroom. Every time I walked out the front door, I would see the little marks in the wood on the porch that the gurney made as they took me down the steps that morning in the ambulance. And I would be in my bathroom sometimes just fixing my hair or putting my makeup on, and those memories would hit me, and I would just break down and start crying and go to my husband to help me and to talk to him and try to make him understand what I was feeling. And it's hard. It's really hard. Even right now, I feel like part of me died that day, and she'll never be back. I'm a new person. I'll never be I'll never be that person again. That person died that morning.
Our crew and our cath lab are really cool. They're very friendly, they're very funny, they're very organized. It's kind of like an ER, it's a controlled chaos. Everybody's moving and doing things, but they all have a purpose. But they treat you wonderful. They treated my wife absolutely outstanding. You know, she knew the whole time outside what was going on while I was in there. And it's really good. They're very professional. They're very caring. I was really happy with all the service and everything I had.